talking to Justin Hartman, who runs a digital media agency called Social Code. Justin, you were saying earlier to me in the conversation that South Africa doesn't really support entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I mean, we were having this discussion, and I think one of my biggest bugbears, for many, many years, and being an entrepreneur myself and starting up a number of businesses, is that the country has for a long time not supported entrepreneurialism. And I think this is really important when you look at developed countries such as the UK or the United States, because what's happening there is that failure is almost part of the culture and it's part of the learning experience. Whereas in this region, we have a much lower tolerance towards failure, which is sad in itself, but I think it really stems from a historical, sort of our history and our legacy of where we've come from. Having said that, though, there's a lot. I think there are a lot of great initiatives at the moment.
So give me some examples.
Well, let's first talk about Silicon Cape, because I think that's an important platform, and I think that's really helped spearhead quite a lot of the fostering of entrepreneurialism in this country.
What is Silicon Cape? So
Silicon Cape really is a not-for-profit organization that ultimately tries to help and grow entrepreneurialism in South Africa. And it helps to connect entrepreneurs with investors and investors with entrepreneurs. And I remember 5 years ago, I think we had maybe one venture capital company in this country. I think we've got about 11 now, if my numbers serve me correctly. And we have great initiatives like Bandwidth Barn and other sort of platforms to help grow that.
Innovation centres.
Innovation centres, but the problem is, or not so much the problem, but it seems to be fostering quite heavily here in the Western Cape. Whereas there's a lot less of that in, say, Gauteng and those regions. But I think also, Russell, one of the big issues that we've had is that really, really great products and great innovation happens within South Africa, but we have this different kind of adoption rate. So we go straight to adopting the Facebooks and the Googles and the Pinterests and Instagram and those things. And what happens is a lot of these really great products don't really get to the surface and don't ever get that opportunity to become a mainstream or a highly adopted platform.
Give me some examples of platforms that have come out of South Africa that have kind of gone global.
Well, I mean, there's a great, I was mentioning to you a little bit earlier, but there's a great platform called Give and Gain. And Give and Gain is really a fundraising platform, online-based fundraising platform for NGOs and basically anyone who needs money to help kind of fund. It's that social responsibility aspect, and I mean they've helped brands like UNICEF, for example, raise money. They work with small guys. And I think what's interesting for me is that, I became aware of Give and Gain about 3.5 years ago. And if you look at their site today, I think they've raised in excess of about $160 million for these non-profits. And I think that's huge, but most people haven't even heard of Give and Gain. And it's interesting because if you look at their sort of market, the givers market is really UK and US based. From my understanding of it, so that's like a really great example of it. Whereas I think most South Africans, and pretty much most Africans, have never heard of it.
And the second one you were mentioning was MobiFlock.
Yeah, MobiFlock. I mean, that's that's a startup, a recent startup that a girl by the name of Vanessa Clark started. And I just loved it. I mean, I remember watching, I think she entered some awards thing or something to get some money, but I remember watching her pitch, and she was pitching against these huge, these really big players overseas, and she won that, and it was just such a special sort of thing. And it was special because MobiFlock, for those that don't know, is really it's almost like an application that you install on smartphones that parents would install to protect their children from the bad things that exist within mobile, because there are plenty of that. And so we've seen some of those sort of products happen on the internet, a lot of software applications you can install on your PC, but there hasn't really been a solution for mobile phones. And I think that's the beauty of it, And if I look at this market and I look at what we're doing, we have a great. I have to be blunt here, but I often laugh at the US and the UK in terms of how they see mobile versus what we see mobile as, And I just think there's such great innovations happening in this market because we just have such a huge market to play with.
And switching direction, what is Social Code and what do you do?
Well, Social Code, essentially our core, we have two core focuses now. One is providing social media services to brands. I obviously come from a long history of being involved in social media in this country. So that's one of the core functionalities that we provide, or services we provide to brands. We deal with large brands like Hyundai, but we also deal with really small brands, including wine farms and really cool, funky stuff like that. And then the other aspect to our business that we're really kind of pushing hard is sort of mobile enterprise stuff. So we do
have an app.
Yeah, we have a really cool enterprise publishing platform available for iOS and Android. And we specifically don't want to compete with the really super cool like mobile companies that do exist. We just want to create some sort of niche in terms of what we can provide to help. We see that like particularly in enterprise market now, there's a big push for mobile solutions. So those are the kind of the core areas of what we're focusing on right now.
Justin, thanks for talking to me today.
Thank you very much.